everyone. My guest today is Andrea LeDew, who is an author living in Jacksonville, Florida. She has a background in literature, language, law, and homeschooling. For 10 years, she has run the website For Random Learning Comes. She has been invited to read her short stories at the literary festival Jax by Jax for 2 years running and has published her poetry in several literary magazines, as well as spoken on a panel for the St. Augustine Poet Fest. Andrea has recently published the book Polemics, Political Poems and Prose, which is a collection designed to encourage those whose patriotism is flagging because of the chaos and tumult of current politics. It covers the era from 2016 to early 2025 in a chronological series of pieces which provide political commentary and insight. Each piece also includes an introduction listing the facts of the news item which inspired the piece for those who were not paying close attention at the time. Since the publication of Polemics, Andrea has turned her attention to her next work in progress, a novel with a disabled main character set in Northeast Florida. For this book to be, she draws on her work as a caregiver for her adult son with autism and IDD. Andrea loves milk chocolate, gardens, old houses, puzzling murder mysteries, meaty novels, and travel. Against her better judgment, Andrea continues to pay far too much attention to the news. Welcome, Andrea. I'm ready to hear about Polemics and what inspired you to write it.
All right. Well, I just came out with this book. I'm just going to slide over a little so you can see it.
Yes.
Polemics, Political Poems and Prose. And it's basically a collection of writings that I've done since 2016 and up until about April of this year. And it includes poems, it includes essays, and there is a single short story in there.
Okay.
And it's kind of from a more liberal point of view, obviously. Most of the issues that I'm reading, I'm seeing from a liberal slant. But there's a lot of wishful thinking about everybody getting together and being friends again,
Yeah.
So I have some poems like that too.
That's what drew me to you and to your book was I personally have voted both ways. And so to see people fight because of how others are voting, it kind of breaks my heart. People aren't friends anymore. And it's getting increasingly more difficult to speak to others with opposing views. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is to bring
that is a heroic mission. That's a very good mission.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't think that the internet is helping. I think it's causing people to be more likely to just go at each other's throats. And
yeah, it feeds into your own prejudices. So whatever you happen to believe in the first place, they're going to give you more of that. Yeah. And then you're going to believe it even stronger and have more ammunition maybe for your point of view.
Right. Yes.
But I was interested because I've been listening to a couple of your podcast episodes, and I was listening to the last one about the gentleman who had written a book about COVID. And it was very interesting to hear your exchange because I experienced COVID from a totally different place, and similarly to you, I had a loved one who died right before COVID started. And I was like, thank God, it's terrible to say, but you really, you're like, oh, it would have been so horrible if we had to go through this and on top of it, COVID.
Yes.
So, but I was, I masked from the beginning. I was happy the kids were taken out of school, So it's really interesting how two different groups of people can perceive the same events in a totally different way.
Right. I always try to remind myself, and again, it is difficult. I catch myself feeding into things, but I always try to remind myself that people are doing things because they believe that's what's right. So not everybody, but people vote a certain way because they think that they believe that's the best choice for the country. So they're not voting a certain way to ruin things, but
to hurt you.
Right.
To hurt the other person, that's not the idea.
Right. And some of those, some discussions can be difficult where it's like, I'm sorry, I don't agree with this. I still care for you. I still want the best for you, but I'm voting this way because I don't quite agree with how you've personally done, like, or not exactly a certain person, but like just don't agree with certain things. And
Right.
you know,
Right. And that's why we have two parties,
yeah,
at least, and
yeah,
in other countries they have multiple parties, so
yes, I
this is
wish
normal.
that we could give other parties a bigger platform, and that it wasn't a two-party system. Personally, again, as somebody who has voted both ways, but
I know
when you
people who voted for the Green Party back
Mhm.
when who was, I can't remember who was running, but it ended up being decisive. The fact that a third party ran was enough to
Yes,
throw the election.
yeah,
So it didn't go to the Green Party, but it wouldn't have been much closer, or it would have been decided the other
yeah,
way if there hadn't been a third party. So I think people got a little scared of the third party after that
yeah,
experience.
yes. So what was your thought process with is writing your way of kind of working through your anything that's troubling you, or
Yes, I think that, I watch a fair amount of news,
Mhm.
I try to keep up on things. And if there are things that just kind of strike me as being, you know, that doesn't seem right. Why
Yeah.
is it that I have this emotional reaction to the news?
Mhm.
I think growing up, I was born in the 60s, so I've, been through a lot of years, and perhaps I just wasn't as involved and aware of politics earlier. But I always felt
Okay.
like, you can kind of trust what people in government are doing. It'll be
Yeah.
fine. Everybody's well qualified to be where they are, And I think in more recent years, it's been more difficult
Mhm.
to take that opinion, and maybe it's just being jaded as an older
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And depending upon your point of view, I think there's plenty of people on the other side and more conservative, or, people who follow Trump or who are just more Republican by nature, that they have felt just the same way. Because
Yeah.
I remember going back to the Clinton years and
Yeah.
just being like in baby groups, and you're going and you're pushing the swings on the swing set. And then you suddenly realize the person who is pushing the swings with you has a totally different point of view and thinks that
Uh-huh.
Hillary is the devil, and, and so on. So
Yeah.
it was a little, I feel like it stretches back quite a long way.
Yeah.
And we've just kind of gotten further and further and further apart, which
Yeah.
is really sad,
Yeah.
because people have to live together. They're in the same families.
Yeah. My dad always let me watch things that maybe I shouldn't have been watching at a
Mhm.
certain age. I mean, I do remember he would not let me watch the O.J. Simpson trial, but I would sneak out and watch it from behind the couch
Yes.
but I remember seeing the Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky scandal on television, and
Mhm.
I was only like 10 at the time. But I do remember even at 10 kind of having the thought process of recognizing how he was being portrayed in the news. And because you could almost see like, but he's the good guy on this station, and but this station's making him look like the
Mm.
bad guy, as a kid, as a child. And then I remember just being curious, like, what does this have to do with him being president? Which
Mm.
obviously there's some moral conflicts going on there,
Yeah,
but
it's all
it's
the character argument. You want
yeah,
someone of good character to be leading the nation.
yes, yes. Which I would say, unfortunately, politics, regardless of what
Doesn't
side you're on,
attract that type.
it does not. It does not. I think nice people are. Who wants to do that?
They're
Um,
writing poetry.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so I do recognize I I know how Trump comes off. I know
Mm.
what he looks like. It's
Well, it's interesting because and you get the same arguments from both sides. It's like you get the Orwellian thing. Okay, this is 1984 because this person is doing this thing. But no, 4 years later, this person is doing this thing, and it's 1984. So it's the same hyperbole that gets thrown in there, and they're
Yeah. Oh, and the world's been ending for decades now. Like it's.
Yes, knock on wood, hasn't quite happened yet, but
right.
I tell you what, I've got a list of my kind of the type of issues that I talk about in my book. Would you like to hear that?
Yes.
So I actually have a poem for almost everything that's in here. So just to give you an idea, this is, pretty, I think it's timely. Maybe it's not to everyone's taste, but I have something that relates to the Epstein files, which is sexual impropriety, right? I have poems that are related to immigration, which is a hot button issue. I have poems on division between the parties. I have poems on unity between the parties. I have poems about abuse of power or militarization, that we wouldn't maybe expect in prior years. I have a poem about the rule of law. It's one of my prettier poems, I think. Shootings. I have several essays about shootings. One is about the Marjorie Taylor Douglas.
Oh, Marjorie Stone Douglas?
Marjorie Stone Douglas.
Yeah, I think
that's a different person. I mean, she may have a school named after her someday, but that was the name of the school where they had the shooting down in South Florida. And I'm from Florida, so I live in Jacksonville. So, and I knew people whose kids went to that school or a school nearby. So shootings, the 2024 election, and how, Biden had to bow out, and then Kamala had to come in, and then she had a very short campaign, and then, so on. And tinkering with government. So like the whole Elon Musk stuff that's been going on or that was going on before he left government, and just the whole attitude toward public servants over time, like over 15, 20 years, how those people have been more and more degraded in the eye of the public. I think people are much more mistrustful than they used to be. I have stuff about the First Amendment, which of course is relevant to Charlie Kirk and what happened with him, and our position in the world. How are we regarded by, he's over there and Trump is over there in England right now and meeting with, the prime minister and staying at Checkers, and so we want to have a good reputation in the world. We want to be secure and have our defense taken care of, make sure that we're not attacked for being, portraying ourselves as weak or anything like that.
Right.
And then I have a poem that's kind of just about how the world has changed, like since maybe the 1980s when I first became, more conscious of what's going on in the world. I went to Germany between my undergrad years and going to law school. So I went to the University of Florida for undergrad, majored in English, all the literature, English lit, poems, novels, everything. Loved it. Always wanted to be a writer, but of course, you got to make money. So I decided to go to law school, got into law school, and then I got a scholarship to Germany. I had been studying German on the side, and I was like a German tutor. So I got to go to Würzburg, West Germany for a year. And that was really eye-opening because it gives you an idea of what do people in other countries think about us. We don't really, we're not really that aware other than the big events that happen in other countries. We don't really hear what other people say about us. And this was during the Reagan years. So you can imagine. Reagan was not very popular in Europe at the time. I hadn't voted for him, but he seemed to be doing an okay job. But I remember him coming over to Germany. No, not to Germany, to France. He came to Normandy. It was like the 50th anniversary of Normandy.
Okay.
So he came and there were all sorts of protests. It's very similar to what's happening with Trump right now,
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's embarrassing as an
Yeah.
American to have your leaders received in that way.
Right.
But, of course, they don't know as much about American politics as we do. So,
Right. Yeah.
anyway, that gives you an idea of the kinds of things I talk about in different ways.
Okay. It's it, you do wonder what other countries do hear about us, cuz what we're hearing about like the UK right now, we're not, the certain things are sounding terrible, but we don't live there. So I don't know. Or is it the UK or the sex trafficking issues that's going on in the UK right now, right?
I mean, I know there was the member of the royal family, Andrew, I think it was, that was
Yes.
involved in Epstein. I knew about that, but
Yeah.
I haven't heard about anything in addition to that.
Yeah, it's
Which
and I
there's a
don't
great documentary on that.
I wonder if I've watched that one. So, how do you feel about the handling of the Epstein case right now? I will say I'm very disappointed. uh
Yeah. I'm I'm just, I've always been kind of a prude. I might,
yeah.
it's just like if this personal stuff I don't necessarily need to know about. I
Mhm.
feel terrible, of course, for the women.
Yeah.
I think, the Me Too movement came along and opened a lot of incidents to
Mhm.
public scrutiny that were once swept under the rug or just,
Yeah.
disregarded or paid off or whatever they did. It wasn't necessarily considered to be a problem. But I think as more and more women come
Mhm.
into positions of power, you
Yeah.
have more concern that
Yeah.
there isn't, bad stuff going on. And of course, this is, how could someone get away with that all those years? This is right in Florida. I lived in South Florida for a while.
Yes.
It's like this was probably going on when I was there. It's just like
Right.
nobody asked me, but it's it's
Yeah.
just very troubling. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think something will come out at some point, and we'll find out, and
Mhm.
then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I've never had like high expectations for it because it seems like people who are powerful with a lot of money can just
Hmm.
make things go away. But with the promises that were made by Attorney General Pam Bondi, I think
Hmm.
she needs to check what she's saying, kind of maybe think about what she's saying before she says them.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that they say, and then they have to backtrack. Just
Yes.
it's
I mean, she's kind of done that a lot so far with
also
other
from
things.
Florida, Pam Bondi.
Yes. Yes, and I thought that was interesting as well. So I'm not too impressed with her.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that as in, well, where is the client list? Where are the files? I'm saying don't promise something if you don't actually have it.
Hmm.
That now you've raised in that binder thing that they did where they had all
Hmm.
of those conservative influencers come with the binder. I got access to the digital file of it. It is just flight logs. But they made them believe, oh, we've got it. We've got what everyone's been asking for. And it was like nothing. And they didn't even know that that's what they were going there for. So what kind of operation was that? None of it makes sense. So more so I'm upset with how they're handling it in the public. Maybe behind the scenes they're working on doing things for the victims and getting some of these
I
people
would hope
charged.
so. I would hope so.
We
But
can only hope,
well, will you indulge me and let me read my poem
Yes.
that is related to sexual impropriety? This was not directly from the Epstein issue. I think it was Stormy Daniels. It
Oh,
was the
okay.
Stormy
Okay.
Daniels
Yeah.
kerfuffle years ago. So this is more of a humorous take on it.
Okay.
Okay, if that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. You got
Okay,
to
this is
sometimes.
called Kangaroo Court.
Okay.
also called honeypot. What's that in your pocket? Tiny little Roo, snuggling with Kanga, questioning poor Pooh. Sweet interrogation, simple little facts, stories for a jury sitting in a box. What will happen to me? Have I misbehaved? Will they see right through me? Will I get away? Rumbles in my tummy. Hunger doesn't lie. Let me ride balloon strings right up to the sky. Close enough to grab some honey on my paw. Will the bees get angry? Worser, will the law? Eeyore's just a donkey, always seeing black. Piglet is my bestie, always has my back. Just 'cause they convict me doesn't mean I'll pay. Heffalumps support me even when I stray. Nobody can catch me, I'm above the law, clinging to balloon strings, sticky, sticky paws. I'm a bear and can't be something that I'm not. If only I could get my head out of this honey pot. So, of course, a honey pot, do you know what a honey pot is? They used to call it like in the CIA or something, if they were trying to catch somebody and turn them over to your side so they would be a spy for you, they would catch them in a sexual impropriety and then blackmail them. That's a honey
Yes.
pot.
Okay.
Anyway,
I thought
not
that's
all of them are written in a child's voice.
yeah. It's just a good way to look at it, you know, almost if you put things in a different perspective, like
Mhm.
to describe certain situations that are happening over and over and over again. So that was a
Yes, yes. And, you know, if, I mean, of course, Kash Patel has been in the FBI hearings and he's getting
Mhm.
grilled, but that makes you think about old FBI directors like James Comey. And
Yeah.
I have a poem about James Comey that is talking about his conflict with Trump and how,
Mhm.
you know, he wouldn't do what Trump wanted, so of course he got fired. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, he kind of in the poem he is portrayed as like a white knight, you know, on a horse riding to, you know, serve justice, you know, and be
Yeah.
the good guy and always apply the law and never no fear or favor and all this stuff. But then it says at the end, you know, I can't believe this Trump would ask this of me. And then he says, but whoops, wasn't I the one who put him in office? You know, it's
Right.
like, because
Yeah.
he's the one, you know. So anyway,
Yeah.
so you just can't write this stuff.
You know, what is so sad is that politics has become the new reality TV, I think. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't watch reality TV. I used to when I was a
Uh,
teenager, and so I guess maybe that's more so how it's for me it's just like this really happened, you know, and I bet it's
yeah.
staged just as often as reality TV is, you know, unfortunately. Also,
Mm,
um there's a lot of stuff that goes on that is just for show that I do wish people would realize that sometimes it's like,
yeah.
but I wish it wouldn't happen too. You know, I wish people were just honest and
Let me
instead
find
of,
it. I have another, if you'll indulge me with
yeah,
another poem. This is just, I've got a poem that's called Liberal Wish List.
okay.
Because, you know, what is his name? The guy who used to be in charge of the Senate, I think, used to talk about the liberal wish list, and they're always wanting these things.
Yeah.
One who talked about who always had the Republicans voting in a block. His name is in here. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. There's always an intro on
Okay.
each of these poems, so you can kind of remember what happened
Mhm.
or learn it for the first time in some
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
But he would mockingly refer to the liberal wish list. So this is
Okay.
my liberal wish list.
Okay.
Liberal wish list. I wish there was not an L word. I wish we could get along. I wish we could get past talking points. I wish we could all belong. I wish we could feed the hungry. I wish we could get rich too. I wish we could live as neighbors. I wish for a smile from you. I wish that I understood you. I wish I could call you friend. I wish we could work together and compromise, stretch and bend. For all of my wistful wishing, no matter the circumstance, whatever is on my wish list, you're certain to vote against.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That's
the
certainly true
dagger.
in Congress, not necessarily in
Yeah.
real life.
Yeah. No, but yes, I mean, the tribalism is
Yes.
a real problem. Senator John Fetterman, he is receiving a lot of heat because when the Trump administration was first starting to enter into their term, he made it a point to try to meet with a lot of the people that Trump had nominated, and he got slack for that because you're not supposed to talk to people on the other side. Isn't that the point?
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's, yeah, it feels like people have forgotten that when you vote for someone, when you elect someone, they represent all the people, including the
yes,
ones that did not vote for them.
yes,
So if they're only taking into account their own constituency,
mm-hmm.
it's leaving out half of the population.
Yeah,
And it's not just a small sliver that's getting unrepresented. A
mm-hmm.
large portion is getting unrepresented. I actually have a poem in my book that's called Representative. And
Okay,
that has to do with living in a red state, in a
yeah,
red district, which I do,
mm-hmm.
and being a blue person.
Yeah,
And you can, are they required to represent you or not?
right,
And a mandate is something that allows you to have power, but does that allow you to have power that you use indiscriminately only for your own ends, or
yeah,
are you required to take everyone into account and make sure
yeah,
it's good for the group?
right.
So
Oh, I have like two different things I want to. I want to ask you about how you feel about redistricting as far as representation, but I do think, again, with the media, they're so focused on the negative. I don't know if like AOC and Anna Paulina Luna, so two different sides, they are willing to work with people on each side, and those two have actually worked together. But I bet a lot of people don't know that there is some working together. And I
some
do think,
cross-pollination.
yes, which I wish we would hear more about that, and I
Yeah.
wish that more things like that could happen. And also I think that your liberal wish list can also be applied to the conservative wish list
Yeah.
of getting along,
Yeah,
of
that's
smiling, and I wish that there was a world where it wasn't politics first. Like, what if I'm running into somebody at the grocery store and I smile at them? I'm only going to smile at you if you're a conservative.
yeah.
I'm nice to everybody. People are losing kindness.
It's like you're wearing the colors of your football team or something, and I don't like
Right.
that football team, so I'm
Right. Yeah.
not gonna associate with you.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about one of my sponsors real quick. Sometimes I need a boost before my bike ride, but pounding an energy drink or coffee beforehand just isn't an option. What I love about Quantum Energy Squares is that they're made with 10 grams of plant protein and 100 milligrams of natural caffeine, equal to an 8-ounce cup of coffee. I get the boost I need without having to drink the fluids that weigh me down or cause a pit stop during my ride. They have over 2,500 reviews, with customers raving about their delicious flavors like caramel almond sea salt and my favorite, dark chocolate pink Himalayan salt. My discount code gives you 25% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit quantumsquares.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout.
So, with redistricting, how I know that Florida is going or talking about moving forward with redistricting to get rid of some blue seats. How do you feel? I'm going to guess that you're not liking that.
That's a good guess.
Yeah. So, if you were to look at Iowa, we're split like right into fours.
Yeah.
Why isn't every state like that? I don't like, or do you think
You mean
that would cause?
the districts are split like quarters? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, for bigger states, it's going to, but a grid. Why aren't they grids? Or do you think that would cause, I mean, obviously, like bigger cities, they might be in the middle of a grid, so I could see why you can't be exactly like that. But what is your opinion on that? To me, it seems like it's being abused on both sides, depending. But
well, yes, definitely it is being used on both sides as a
mm-hmm.
political tool to
Mm-hmm.
get more votes. For sure, anybody who's in power at the time of redistricting tends to use it for that purpose.
Right.
I think part of the issue with implementing redistricting right now is that it is not traditional to do it so soon.
Right.
It was every 10 years with
Mm-hmm.
the census. Given the new data, you would redistrict.
Yeah.
So it would be based on some set of facts that was new. And it seems to me that they are pouncing upon what I suspect is AI. AI is helping them to process this information in a way different than the census. So the census is a questionnaire for the whole nation to fill out, and then they process those results. But now that we have AI, maybe there's other ways that they can figure out exactly who's where, and then they can adjust it. But what's to prevent them from doing that again in 6 months or it's just arbitrary that it should happen right now. And I think it's a dirty pool. That's what I think. So as far as, is it right that some districts are shaped differently than other districts, and why aren't they just cut up in a checkerboard or whatever? I think that the history, I mean, I live in the South.
Right.
Black people were discriminated against. They continue to be discriminated against. And there were districts drawn that helped to alleviate that, helped to make it possible, despite the fact of being a minority, that you could still obtain at least some representation. If you have strict, just across the board checkerboard, then you might end up with a majority white population in every single district. You would have a majority white or completely white legislature or whatever body you're talking about. And that would be unfair to all the people who are unrepresented, who do not, they don't make up enough numbers to take over a whole district. And you don't want to encourage people to all live in the same area of town. We've done that before too. That's the history of the South as well. The idea is to have lots of people live in lots of places so that we're all cross-pollinating, even through the races and through the experience, age, whatever it is.
So you don't see that very often here in Iowa. And I do, when I lived in Texas, I lived in Austin, and I remember most of my friends were Hispanic. And I remember that certain neighborhoods where it was almost all Hispanic. And so you do see the grouping of races a little bit more in the South. I don't know if that's just because there's more immigrants in the South or in the slavery, if that's just how the population dispersed in the South compared to the North. But that is something that you do see more in the South. So I could see that being more of an issue with redistricting, to making sure that everyone is represented.
I have a poem that's kind of relevant to that. I call it ampersands. The ampersand symbol.
Oh, yes.
So when you want to say and, just like in my title. So you have an ampersand right there.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the whole point of the poem is, do we really all want to be together or not? Are there forces that also fight against us all being together in a mix? and why do we find it uncomfortable? And I don't really answer the question, but I describe the phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
If you can imagine a liberal like me with a flag out on her front porch that has the rainbow. Okay, the rainbow flag that you see all over the place. Okay, so this is called ampersands, which means and, right? This rainbow jeweled spectrum with trembling bands of light, its sibling strands and ampersands contrast, combine tonight. While cheery colored opposites upon the color wheel would seem to strike a contrast, when combined, these tones reveal our muddy thoughts and instincts. For humanity hates change, admiring difference at a distance. Close, we rearrange the palette, cull to suit our needs, traditional and bland. We pick 2 colors, maybe 3, and toss the ampersand. What use have we for everyone? Too many spoils the click. Inclusion breeds confusion. Stirring all will dull the mix. This flag hangs proud upon my porch. They walk by and they know. But have I friends of every hue? The answer, simply, no. Our simpering claims of openness apply to what we know, yet throw some strangeness in the mix and watch our colors glow devolve to churning thunderclouds and storms that howl and twist, and watch our union disappear. Less rainbow now than mist.
I like
humanity. What are we gonna do?
My next door neighbor, she's moving now, but she would fly the pride flag every June. And so we did not vote the same, but we got along, and it's possible. It is possible.
Yeah. I think the main thing is to let people coexist. You don't have to agree.
Yeah, and I do think too, just because someone's flying a certain flag doesn't mean that they hate America, or it doesn't have to be seen as a sign of aggression. I had a friend from Brazil who always had like the Brazil flag, and that's where she came from. That's part of her. She loves America. She's a citizen here now, but I never thought of it as an act of aggression to see her flying that flag, and I do think that people are a little too picky about who's flying what flag. Now, if it's in certain situations where it's like
people got in trouble in LA for flying the wrong flag.
Yes.
The Mexican flag.
Right. And it's, I mean, to me, if you want to come here and you want to be a citizen, have your flag. That's fine. But don't wave your flag while you're burning the American flag, because it's like, well, you want to be a citizen here. You have the right to do that. But it's sending the wrong message. If you want to, that's kind of what my opinion is on as far as flags go.
Yeah. I also have a poem called Burning Flags.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. I do think that because now people think it's illegal or you're going to immediately get jail time for burning the flag, but you have to be committing another crime while doing it.
However, this is the new rule that Trump imposed, because the old rule is that it's protected by the First Amendment.
Right. So conflict, there's some conflicts there that.
Yeah, I don't think that's been completely sorted out quite yet.
No, and
I mean, not that I do it or I know anybody who would ever do that.
Right. No, I don't know anyone who would do that. The messaging of this administration, important parts are left out oftentimes. And I don't know. I think they're making themselves look worse than they are, but regardless, that is a First Amendment right to be able to burn the flag. Like, is it tasteful? No, but
not going to make a lot of friends.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's yep.
Yeah, I think in my poem that I talk about burning flags, I mentioned the case that was like a Texas case, I think, that had the burning flag in it that established the Supreme Court precedent. But I compared it to the restrictions on what people could teach in schools, because that's also, the teacher kind of deciding their own curriculum and how to present it and which things are important. And a lot of meddling has happened in that area as well. And both issues are kind of, like a tempest in a teapot.
Yeah.
It's how important is it that we restrict that so tightly?
Yeah.
How often is it going to be applied? How often are teachers really going to go way, way beyond where they should be going?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mention this often because in Florida, we have had a lot of the things that the Trump administration is now trying to apply nationally happen here.
Yeah.
We had New College, which was a liberal arts college. I knew people who went there. It was very, avant-garde as far as, there's transgender, there's all kinds of support of any kind of liberal opinion, basically, you can think of. And they just shut it down. They shut it down. They changed the board of governors, turned it into a conservative school. They just decided they didn't want that blot on Florida.
Yeah.
Which,
and then
I thought if any place, when, of course, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and in the 80s, a college campus, I saw Abby Hoffman. I've seen there were people who came to campus who had very radical points of view. And they were tolerated, and people attended, or they didn't attend, or they protested, but it was not a big deal. Nobody, heaven forbid, had the fate of poor Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
So that's obviously the rhetoric needs to be toned down. But part of it is that these institutions are being attacked in a lot of ways right now. And that's unfortunate too.
Yeah.
So both the free speech of the individual has to be protected, and the ability of the institution to function.
Yeah. Yeah. People do need a safe space to be able to go.
Yes.
And if they keep getting taken away. Yeah. It's a really difficult situation.
And there was a lot of reaction online that shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have been. But I think also equally that you shouldn't be, firing people because of spouting an opinion online. So many people do stupid things online. I think you would be firing everyone in this planet,
Yeah. I just don't think that teachers should be talking about their political views in school anyways. And just like I don't think that religion should be tied into politics either. So as far as Charlie Kirk goes, I'm very, very upset about it.
Yeah, I heard on a different podcast that you were under the impression that he might someday run for president.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't agree with everything he said, because I don't believe that religion should be in politics. And I don't believe that if you're going to argue policy with someone, that you should be using the Bible to argue policy. So that's one thing that is not in line with the Conservative Party with me. I just thought it was important that he talked to everybody regardless of what their opinion was.
Yeah. I saw you had one of these.
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah.
It's like, I think we have the same one.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It's
I still, my poor father, he died right before COVID, but I still got all his Republican mail.
Do you?
So I have a little card,
Yeah. I don't know. It's what's upsetting is he wasn't a politician either, you know, and it's like, what?
No. And really the idea that he would go onto campus and debate.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the holy grail of American free speech. You know, you want people to debate. You want people to have opposing views. The reason the First Amendment is there is to protect views that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
That's what, you know, like for, was it Charlottesburg where they had the Nazi rally and everyone was up at arms that this should not be allowed to happen, you know, and it's like Skokie, Illinois, this happened way back and they already said this is an expression of free speech. Not that I have any sympathy for these people.
I know. Unfortunately, it protects voices you don't like too, you know. It's
So I think that has a lot to do with why I wrote this book. Is just that, you know, you learn stuff, and you learn stuff in civics, you learn stuff in US history, you learn stuff if you go to law school, and every time something happens in the public square that twists something, you know, it's like, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be. There's something wrong with this, you know, and then I have to explore.
Yeah. I do think that that's one thing that I can do sometimes where and maybe going to school for science has helped. You have to look at things without bias, you know. And so and again, that it can be hard, but what I try, if I'm engaging in conversation on TikTok, it can be so mean. But if someone's being respectful,
I have not explored TikTok. My kids are on it, but
it's rough. You know, I try, and I have to take a conscious effort, but I do think I'm decent at it compared to others because of my science education. If someone says something that's conflicting with what I believe, I try to think about it and reflect. Maybe I'm wrong about this, you know, or, and I try to give people credit when they've made a good point that might be conflicting with the point I've tried to make. And also, I mean, this is a little bit sidestep, but you get more views if you're kind of mean. And I'm trying to move away from that because it's just poison from within, you know? So that's creating this Podmatch account and talking to more people has been so much more rewarding than just recording myself being a bitch and putting it on, you know.
I'm sure you never did that. No, I know what you mean. It's you see a lot of negativity online and it does cause clicks and you know, there are better things we could be doing with our time.
Yes.
And
like
and like you're saying, you know, when you're talking to somebody who's of an opposing view, if you can reflect back what they said to you, so you can be sure that you are understanding them, and then, you know, pick it apart together and try to figure out where exactly your conflict is.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you and I think alike in a lot of ways, you know, that certainly the separation of church and state, I 100% agree with, even though I was raised Catholic, you know, I went to church every Sunday, but, you know, it can be used for evil. It can be used in a very nefarious way that, you know, the founding fathers kind of tried to insulate us against that. And so
I always think about my family when I say that, you know, because I have a very strong Christian family, so it's like, hopefully I'm not disappointing you, but this is how I feel.
I think I mean, I think you can be a good person, first of all, in any religion, not just in Christianity, but I think that it's better to support the institutions that are in your government and allow them to operate correctly rather than fighting against it with religion, which was not meant for that purpose. You know, religion was not meant to rule human beings and treat them equally. That's we could go back to the Middle Ages. We did that once. You know.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, people have used it to start wars. So it still happens all the time. But
it's very divisive. That's I worry about that with all these, with the reactions, with the shooting this week, and just people need to simmer down a little bit and realize we're all brothers and sisters. We are all in the same country. We all care about our own place in the world, and that we still stand for freedom. You have more in common than we do apart from each other.
Yes, I think people forget that. Everyone who doesn't love dogs. Like,
I do. I don't have any dogs. I have children. 4 children. No dogs needed. I have had dogs in the past in my home family from my parents. We always had dogs. Yes. Yeah, it's true. Most people either like dogs or they like cats.
Yeah. I guess I should have said, who doesn't like pets? Is there anything else that's really special to you in the book that you would like to share? And I was also wondering if you could close us out with, when we're ready, with one of your poems on unity.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. I tell you what, I'll do one on division and then I'll do one on unity. Will that work?
Good. Yep.
Okay. So this one, you'll love this if you're a science background.
Okay.
It's called litmus test.
Perfect.
Okay. So a litmus test, put a drop on a blotter and you get blue or red or purple if it's neutral, right? Is that right?
Okay.
Okay. So that's what it's premised on. Litmus test. Plop a drop upon a blotter. Watch the color morph and turn. One result will chart your leanings, your belonging, us or them. Test with strips of red and blue distilled within a Middle Age, work of a Spanish physician before the Inquisition was the rage. A test of acid red or basic blue or neutral purple hue divides us into categories, us and them, not me and you. And how we think upon a subject, where we lie, which side of 7 betrays us in our brother's eye as of the devil or of heaven. Which are you? More red? More blue? Would we reject all food stuffs thus and throw away our meats and veg, each different, so despised by us? And now one question parts a nation, Moses and the red blue sea, till Pharaoh comes with all his men. 'Twill be the end of you and me. So that's one about division.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have 2 different ones that are on unity. One is called The Yoke.
Okay.
And that has to do with a comment that Obama made, taking up the yoke of, working together. Yeah. And the other one is called Q&A, which has to do with QAnon.
Oh, nice.
So which would you like to hear?
Let's hear the Obama one.
Okay.
And I did vote for Obama both times, just so you know.
Good for you. Okay, you got a chance there. So basically, President Obama used he was talking about the shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio in 2019.
Okay.
And he said, people of goodwill. And so I kind of played with that. The yoke. People of goodwill, come take the journey, join the fight. Though it be uphill, come lift the gurney with all your might. While the others jaw and jab and bicker, strut and crow, lean into the saw. This log is thicker than we know. Though the powers that be may own the present, cling to power, invincible are we. The future's essence, it is ours. So be not faint of heart. We've conquered demons, exercised worse devils will outsmart these, bend their knees, and minimize their stain. They'll too be long forgotten. Never yet has bad prevailed when honest people of goodwill put on the yoke of good travail. So there you go. Honest
Perfect.
people unite.
Yes.
It was a pleasure. It was wonderful.
Yes.
Very nice to meet you and talk to you.
You as well. Yeah, I think these are very important conversations to have. And where can everybody get your book?
Most everywhere. It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all the places. You can order it at your local bookstore if you'd like. And of course, you can go to my website, which is For Random Learning Comes, frlcnews.com. And that's another place you can also get my book if you want. Okay. You can get a link to it.
Yes. And I will post links in the show notes and online for everybody to be able to find it. So, all right. Awesome. Well, it was great speaking with you.
Yes. So. Yes. Well, good luck to you. And I hope we all get along.
Yes, I agree. I'll talk to you soon.